Next speaker is Dennis Littky. He has spent the last 40 years working tirelessly to change the education system. His big picture learning design led to the creation of 75 schools in 20 cities nationally and 20 abroad. His work in New Hampshire was featured in the NBC movie A Town Torn Apart. He is a community organizer, education reformer, and a school principal. Please welcome Doc Littky.
Thank you, everybody. He talked about a movie being made about me. It's kind of an interesting thing. I've always been a very good principal. I've been a high school principal. But you don't really get famous till you get fired. Who's been fired in here? Come on, honestly, who's been fired? All right, I like to see that. So what happened, I've been a principal a lot, in many schools. I was a principal in New Hampshire, got fired, and it became this big news event. And so somebody decided to write a book on it. And so who's happiest when someone's writing a book about my mom? So, I call my mom, they're writing a book on me, it's great. Then when the cover came out, you can't see it very well, I should have had a picture of it. Cover came out, Doc's story, Dennis Littky, my picture and all the kids. And I'm not sure my mom even believed me that there was a book about me. And every Sunday when I talked to her, she lived on the West Coast, she'd say, is the book out yet? Well, not yet. Finally, the book was out. I said, Mom, it's out. So as any nice mother would do, she got all dressed up, went to the corner borders, walked in, didn't even look for the book, just said as loud as she could, oh, they wrote a book about my son. Doc, do you have it? And she's sitting there proud. I think she said it 3 times to make sure everyone heard. The guy goes in the back room. He comes out, and he's got this funny look on his face. And my mom knew she's waiting for this book here. And he comes out, and he gives her this book, Doc. And it turns out it's a medical doctor who was raping his patients in Utah. Honest to God. This made the bestseller list. My mom bought my book. My mom did not come out of her apartment for about 3 weeks. She was a little embarrassed in the neighborhood. And then I called my publisher and I said, there's another book, Doc. And so when the paperback came out, they changed the name for Teacher so that it wouldn't get thrown off. But I'm not here to really speak about myself. I'm really here to speak about education. And we're in bad shape. It is very sad what's going on. Everything in the world is changing except education. If you went into a school, you might find the textbooks you had when you were in school. I was in a school the other day. I saw my same economics book. Can you believe that? Economics, the same one from 30 years ago? Now, in the fancier schools, you'll see the textbook online. But it's still the same. And we have to do something. And little changes won't work. Teachers have been getting paid more. The achievement doesn't change. Class sizes go up over the last 20 years. Nothing changes. Teachers are trained better. Goes up. Nothing changes. So we got to do something very, very different. And I moved from New Hampshire. After that, I actually, you can see the movie. Michael Tucker from LA Law plays me. It was an NBC movie. I copy him illegally to get famous again, but I put a little note back here. It's for educational reasons only. If you want one, I will send it to you. See if you can get busted for seeing my film. So I came to Brown University, and then the commissioner of the state asked me to set up a school. And I said at that time, I didn't think I was going to. So I said, if I can do it exactly how I want. And he said yes. Now, there was a survey out. They surveyed 100,000 high school students. And they asked them, give me one word that describes high school. What do you think that is? Boring. The sad part is we know it, and we keep doing it. So I said, if I'm going to create a school, I'm going to create a school that's not boring, where kids are engaged, kids are inspired. We're going to turn everything upside down. We're just not going to add a couple minutes, put math and science together. We're not going to do that. If you were educating your kid at home, you wouldn't put him in the living room for 45 minutes, have him read a book, ring a bell, go to the bathroom, do science, ring a bell. You wouldn't do that. And so we said, okay, we're going to set up a school that's very different, that comes from the child. So what we did is we got 50 students who were brave enough to come to this school, public school, and we said, what's your interest? Animals? Fantastic. Let's go work at a vet 2 days a week. You're interested in the hospital? Great. Let's go work with this doctor. We found their interests, what they loved. We put them out in the community 2 days a week. So they loved it. They were working with adults. Then when they came back to school Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, we built a math, science, English, all around that work. And then every 9 weeks, they had to stand up for an hour and talk about their work in front of their mentors, in front of their parents. And that's how we started saying, oh my gosh. So here's a couple stories. There's a kid came to me and said, I want to study death. Well, I was being this cool principal, you could study anything you want. I go, oh my gosh, death? But okay, she started visiting funeral homes. She started visiting cemeteries. And I'm going, oh my gosh. 9th week, she stands up to give her talk. She was a kid that was a pain in the butt for up to 8th grade. All of a sudden, she shows she had like 27 drafts of a paper. She gave this incredible talk, and I raised my hand and I said, Marin, are you going to continue studying death? And she got quiet and she said, my brothers and sisters were killed coming across from Cambodia. I used to think about death 95% of the time. I could not get it out of my head. I now got it out of my head. I'm ready to move on. And I felt so proud as a school person that I could allow her do what she needed to do. She finished school. She went on to college. She actually did a management internship with me as a senior in college. So that's the kind of passion that you want. Another kid said he wanted to study Vietnam. So he worked with a mentor who was building a monument to Vietnam veterans. And then he took a class because your schedule is all flexible. You do what you need to do. So there was a class at Providence College on the Vietnam War. My 11th grader took it. Got a B+ at 11th grade because he was interested in it. Came back in the summer. There was a course at Brown where the professors were teaching teachers how to teach about the Vietnam War. My young man took that class. So he's getting all this amazing experience. And as a senior, Joe came into me and was talking about something. And I said, I never asked you why you were interested in studying the Vietnam War. And he got kind of like, his face went straight. And he said, from the time I was 5 years old, I would ask my dad to talk to me about his experience in the war. And every year I'd ask him around Christmas time. And every year he'd walk away from me and never said anything. As Joe Jr.'s senior project, he took his dad to Vietnam with him. His dad was 18 when he was at Vietnam. Joe was now 18. His father opened his drawer, showed him his medals. The young man did a website on how kids can talk to their parents about the war. So this is what I cared about. He knew a war deeply. He knew history deeply. He went on to become a history major in college and now is a teacher at our school. So it's like finding that passion and then going deep on that. Then what happened, my 4th year, people kind of laughed at us a little bit, like, what kind of education is this? My kids are graduating in the year 2000, and here's what happened. We had 97% attendance. This is the inner city. 50% of our kids spoke Spanish as their first language, 35% African-American, and the rest white and a few Asian. 97% attendance. The city attendance was 76. We had a 2% dropout. The city had a 46% dropout. I looked at how pathetic the Houston dropout is. It is over 50% of kids who start school drop out. Of course our kids didn't drop out. They get to work with their passion. They get to integrate math and science into their work. So they came to school. So then Bill Gates heard about us, sent his head man down to see us. So I'm doing my shuffling around, telling them how wonderful we are, you know. Bill Gates, head man here. He says, enough of you guys. I'm going in your cafeteria. So he starts to go, and then I remember I had this kid, a Latino youngster who came to my school to organize. It was small enough to organize all the Latino girls. And we were in a public building. And Susan, I'm going to do a swear word. We have our 13-year-old girl, Adora. Cover her ears, Mom, wherever you are. So Susan, every day, would say fuck 5 times. Loud. She just tried to freak out everyone in the cafeteria. And I'm going, I got the head Gates man. I got Susan who's going to stand up. And I did not know what to do. And then I remember Susan was absent. Honest to God. And the guy walked out. He gave me $5 million to start 10 schools. Said, this is my favorite school. Kids care about learning. And then since then, Gates gave us another $20 million. And as I was introduced, we have 72 schools in this country. We have 20 schools in Australia and the Netherlands. So it's been a very exciting journey. So rather than me having a PowerPoint, I brought a student along from Providence. So I'm going to introduce Freddie Gonzalez and have him talk a little. And then I'm going to talk about the college we started. And Freddie went through the high school and is now in the college. Let's give him a hand. Freddie.
Hello, everybody. As Dennis said, my name is Freddie Gonzalez. I graduated from the Met High School, and I'm now a freshman in his new college, College Unbound. Before I begin, I want to ask everybody to please close their eyes and envision what I'm about to tell them. Imagine yourself being born into poverty. What would that look like? Imagine your father leaving when you were 3 years old. Who would help you grow? What if you're a child of an immigrant who still to this day can't work? How would you make money and pay for things? Picture growing up in a neighborhood where nothing but gangs and dealers roam. How would you get out? What if you lost 4 friends in 1 year to violence? Who can you talk to? Please open your eyes. For me, this is not imagination, this is reality. All of these scenarios came from my life, and the point of all this is to understand how others live. Everyone has their own story, and I'm pretty sure you all do as well. I believe that most of us are caught up with our own perception of life, that it makes it hard for us to think about others daily. And this makes me think how schools expect kids to walk through the door the same every day, to learn the same, and to act the same, and the teachers teach the same. For a kid like me who gets pulled in many ways, I didn't have if I didn't have a high school to pay attention to me and help me find my passion, then I'll probably be in the streets and not up here. At the Met, things are different. Advisories, which are a class of 15 students, met another family. Together, through the 4 years, we can be able to go through thick and thin, and we can help each other out. Internships meant experience. I can gain all the experience, I can gain all the skills, and I can explore different fields, all while incorporating what I learned in the classroom. The thing that kept me coming back every morning was entrepreneurship. My freshman year, I started a project selling customized wristbands, and by the time I was a senior, I had a full-blown catalog of different promotional items. My sophomore year, a group of us started our own soda company with the theme of follow your passion, and I have some up here if you guys want to try some. Well, with the flavor of passion fruit, and we utilized the local bottler, and we actually started selling them in stores, and still today is running, and all the profits go to scholarships. And for my senior project, I took what I learned from my entrepreneurship class and all my experiences, and actually went over to the Netherlands and helped incorporate entrepreneurship into education. I stayed there for 3 weeks, and I taught teachers from a group of 44 to a group of 8, and I went everywhere from Amsterdam to Utrecht to Tilburg, a small town. Now, I can go on for days to talk about the little projects that made these big projects possible, but I just wanted to give an example of how real-world education can be. That's why when it was time for me to apply for college, instead of going to a prestigious school, I decided to go to College Unbound, Dennis's school, because I knew that they would care about me and they allowed me to be the entrepreneur that I am. The past 2 months at College Unbound have been all about me finding an internship and exploring different fields, separate from what I've been doing in high school. Now, I've shadowed a few places, but I ran into one place, and it's a factory called Littky, the first of its kind in the U.S., and it's located in Providence. And what they do is they make peanut butter packed with nutrition to basically help fight malnourishment in developing countries. And I actually met with them 2 weeks ago, and I'm working my way to get an internship there, and we started talking about a project I can actually do in Tanzania to help to build a social marketing program for this product. Now, if we wanted to start thinking about the future of education, we should stop scratching our heads and look around. With all the new technology, there should be no reason for schools to be boring. Ask us how we learn, because we are the future. And there are thousands of students here in Houston, all through Texans, all around the country who have their own story and who went through things just as I've been. Now, I like doing this stuff because it gets me more dedicated and makes me want to help others. And everybody deserves to make it. So I'm going to leave here asking you all to do whatever you can to help others make it, no matter what it is. If it's just your niece, your nephew, just basically ask them what's their story. Thank you.
Wait a minute, you got a little more applause than me. So
I deserve it.
But you can grab the chair here so you don't make me nervous stand next to me. The other thing, you can all send $100 to Freddie Gonzalez, and he'll keep it if you don't make change, and send it back. And there's 600 people. There's your scholarship, man. So there was a quote I had that I loved. If our students don't learn the way we teach, perhaps we should teach the way they learn. Sometimes it's so simple. So what happened to me was that I've been doing high schools my whole life, and then I realized that even if you do a good job in high school, I started looking at our kids have been doing pretty well. We follow them. They've been staying in college, but a bunch coming home. I hear the stories, and then I look at the data. Now, this is incredible data. Of kids who are first generation, their family to go to school, so it's low income, mostly kids of color, who go to college. So it's not the 50% who dropped out. It's the ones who graduate high school and actually start college. 89% drop out of school. No one knows that. It's repulsive. And it can't be their fault if there's 89%. Sure, they could have better skills. That's always a problem. But the colleges are stuck back worse than the high schools. You do it this way or you're out. So look what's going to happen to our world. We are going to have a first world, third world country. This is the first time in America that this generation that's growing up, Freddie's generation, will be worse educated than any previous education. How we've gone in this country, each generation gets better educated. It's reversed. And we got to do something about it. We got to change colleges in the same way. And that's why I started this College Unbound. I found a college that said, you know what? That he was honest. We're losing our kids. You can do something. Went and gathered 8 students last year from around the country. We found what's your interest. We got 2 kids working at the Institute for Nonviolence. We got a kid working with an architect in sustainability. We have a kid who wanted to be an actress. They're filming this new TV show, Burden of Proof. She's with the producer. That's what they're doing 2 days a week. Then we hit them hard with seminars, reading, to broaden them. We got to prepare them out there for work. We got to give them a purpose. We have to give them the skills so that you can hire them. In your paper this morning, it was incredible. I don't know if you read the new chief in town on the front page. One of your border towns that's been hit on the other end pretty hard with the police chief was shot. There's no one in the police force. They just hired a college student. She's 20 years old to be the police chief. So I'm saying, is she going to learn more as a police chief or taking 4 criminology courses? Okay? She's got a real experience. Who would you want to hire after that? That's what we got to do. And people got to stop saying that's soft, and people got to start saying these are the new skills. You got to learn to read, write, but you got to apply your knowledge. You got to be entrepreneurial. Freddie's interest in entrepreneurialness runs into everything. How to see a problem, how to fix it. So I just want to say to you that, it's interesting because it connects to Freddie's end of his speech, connects to what the opening speaker talked about. How do I get you? That's my goal. That's why I go around talk. Not to hear myself talk, but to say, if I can get a few people in this room to really, they have a kid in school. I was talking to people last night at a dinner. What do I do? So you don't have to send your kid to a private school because the public school sucks. That's not fair. Let's change those schools. Somebody said the best way to change schools would be to cut out all private schools. Then we'd all have to have our kids in public school, and maybe we care more. You have nieces, you have grandchildren that are in schools. You could run for a school board. Something's got to be done. Because if it doesn't, people are just going to keep tweaking. Charters are nice. You hear that going around. Doesn't mean it's a good school. Closing the academic gap is really one test. That's not the answer. So I just plead for you out there is to think about this. And I know 15 people are going to tell you this today. So put a star next to mine. And you don't have to send $100. 99 goes to me. But it's something that's just very important. If you're working with a college here and want us to come down and start a college Unbound, you let us know. We're not in Texas. We're in 31 cities, but none in Texas. We go from Camden, Maine, Detroit. We're in all the tough cities. You want that? You find Freddie. I have to leave at 12. I'll be around. But find Freddie, because that's what we're trying to spread the word. So I hope this made sense to you, and I hope after you send him the 100 and me the 99, you'll go out and make change. Thank you very much. And you can get a soda. You asked
Dennis and Freddie, don't leave yet. I have a couple quick questions for you. So Dennis, the brilliance of this plan is customizing the education. I'm curious what you think about the prospects for digital education, which are really all about customization where kids can learn themselves. How do you see that fitting into the picture?
The interesting thing that's happening is everyone says the digital is going to be the answer. But you know what they're doing? They're putting the boring courses online. Don't work. It's not what they're looking at. So I'm really trying to figure out how to use the social networking, how to use this kind of conference. Imagine this. Online, there'll be 15 cool people talking. You could build something around each. You don't need to hear 20 lectures. You hear him speak. You go read his book. You do a program around it. So yes, it needs to be used. Only way to get the cost down. It is ridiculous to spend $50,000 to send your kid to college for a year. That's what these private schools are. It is just sad. And there's going to be a lot of colleges closing because we're figuring out how to do it digitally. So.
Next question.
That's one to Freddie. Put him on the spot.
Okay, Freddie, here's a question for you.
All right.
I know there's a hard question to answer, but where do you see yourself in 5 years from now?
Me, well, like I said, my passion is entrepreneurship, but like after really experiencing how messed up education is, like I dedicated myself to filling his shoes. Like I swear, when he's in a wheelchair, I'm gonna have to take over. And I think, I think most of the kids that come through my school have like.
This is the last talk you're coming to.
All the kids that go through my school really have the same feeling towards that because we all leave wanting to make change, and it's just figuring out how we're gonna do that personally.
Great. Here's a question for the both of you. Let's say Obama called you up and said, I'm going to make you two guys the education czar. I know Obama's been putting a lot of money into education in a few states and Gates Foundation, but let's say you guys controlled the budget entirely. What would you do?
Well, here's the nice news. I have it tattooed on my chest, but Obama, in his April speech, said, we'll follow the example of places like the Met School, that's our school in Rhode Island, that gives students that individual attention while preparing them through real-world, hands-on training and the possibility of succeeding in a career. The problem is, this is wonderful, and the problem is, as much as I like Obama, like Arnie Duncan and what they're doing, they are just worried about test scores, and test scores are not the answer. So I would say stop this race. Thank you. It's very interesting. You measure the wrong thing. I have laryngitis. And 2 days ago, before I flew out here, I went to the doctor, and they took my temperature, and my temperature said 98.6. So it's perfect, but I had laryngitis. So which is me? They said I was normal. Should I left? No, I had something else. Kids take science tests. Kids take other tests. So I would get rid of that. I would start developing different kinds of assessments. We need assessments. I'd look at the other kinds of skills. I'd look at work that students are actually doing. And I'd get them out in the world and involve the whole world in giving them a purpose to go to school. So.
Another round for Dennis and Freddie.